Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can paint for yourself at home this really gorgeous love tree. It's a tree holding the sun and the moon during day and night. I think it represents all the dualities of love that are out there. It's it's a complex thing, and I really like the imagery of this. Um, if you don't want to draw the tree, no worries. If you check the link below, there's a link to the website where the traceable reference are. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
Now I'm going to explain this class to you. I'm going to break down every color mix, every technique, every tool. I'm going to explain it like deeply. But to make sure that as I'm doing that, you really have access to what I'm saying, John's going to point the cameras at what I'm doing, zoom in with the robotic camera. Just make sure that you can really see what's going on. Now, to that end, we're here for the live show. So if you're here for the live show, there's a couple cool things for you. First, if you have a question at all, put it all in caps. And one of our happy moderators, they're ambassadors for art. They're going to tell you where you can find that resource. If I have video for it, if there's anything that they can help, they'll locate it for you. They're volunteers and viewers just like you. So everybody give them a lot of love. And they're just here to help you find all the stuff because I've been doing this for a long time and I have made a few videos. So a little guidance through that 2,000 or 1,500, whatever it is we've decided we've done now videos.
I think it's closer to 2,500 now. Like
really? Okay, so it's just a lot of
videos.
videos. So that way they've watched for a long time, and so they know where the stuff is and how to navigate the website. On the website, you can download the traceable and use it, but I am going to show you the entire process of how I constructed this painting. This is the original that I did that we're working from, and I did it as a study, and I put it up to be like, I don't know. And then you guys were like, I'd like to paint that. And so I said, well, I can't say no to you guys. I can't say no to you. And so we're painting.
That's what we're here for. We're here to do this.
That's why I'm here. I'm here to actually help you paint. Now, to this end, if you've come in here and you've been like, who is this crazy person? And there's already so much talking. Yeah, now I am teaching, but my process of teaching does involve talking.
Who was that purple-haired woman?
That's Sherpa. But that process does. What are you doing over there, you? That process does involve talking. So if you don't like talking and you thought this was a time lapse, oops. But give it a try anyways, because sometimes somebody verbally explaining it, demonstrating it can really help. Also, after the show, I timestamp the chapters of this, and those are turned into a written out instruction set we call a mini book with step-by-step photos and more information, and that comes out about 7 to 14 days, maybe 21 days after a show, depending on how long it takes us to write it. But those are free for download because we all learn differently, and I like to add those resources just for free. Oh yeah, and that's the cost of the class. It's for free. There was a bunch of questions. How much is the class this morning?
This is expensive.
I was like, it's free. I didn't even have to answer. People were like, it's free. And it's free because, you know, art supplies cost money. So
wait,
I got to help you spend your money on what you got to spend your money on.
But I've seen you paint with like coffee and like a sharpened stick that you used a lighter on.
Yes, you've seen that happen, but do we recommend it as a tool? I don't recommend coffee as a paint. I'm not saying you can't do it. You can. And if you're really, really bored in a coffee shop, could you do it? Yeah.
Could.
But do you want to? Maybe not. All right, let's go over the tools in today's show. So what you've just seen me pull out, I'm definitely going to be using my T-square ruler. That just helps me draw a straight line. I have an 11 by 14 surface. I have the paint out. The oxazine purple is purple. Any purple you have will be fine. Burnt sienna, phthalo green, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, quinacridone magenta. This one is phthalo blue. This one is ultramarine blue. When you've been painting for a minute, believe it or not, the cones in your eyes do get stronger. And eventually these will look like completely different blues to you. But that may not be something that's true for you today. And if you have a hard time telling phthalo blue and ultramarine blue from each other, you may want to separate them up and label them, and don't feel weird if that's where you're at. But also realize, like, next year they may look like completely different blues to you, and you're like, wow, that thing she said a year ago, it was totally true. The other thing I have is a golden fluid acrylic and carbon black. Now you could use Mars black paint and thin it and paint out the tree, but this is my kind of superpower tool because it helps me get very, very, very fine lines. And we're going to talk a lot about fine lines in this particular class because I think it is a struggle for everyone. How to get delicate lines, how to have hand control, how to do those different things. And I'm going to help you with that a little bit. I've also got some low-tack tape to help me separate the sides of the canvas, painter's tape, that particular brand is stick, and a purple solo cup because purple is my favorite color. And I didn't want the red, but it's the same thing. And I'm going to use that to help me size the sun and the moon, which is going to be a fun paint. So hopefully you guys understand what we're doing. Yeah. You know that there's talking, there might be joking, there could be dad jokes. I can't promise seriousness. I teach real art. I teach real art techniques. I just am not a stick in the mud. It's just not my way. You know? And if you need that, I respect it. I'm just saying.
There are so many places to
there's
find
stick in the mud places everywhere for that.
Just we're non-mud sticks.
We're non-mud sticks. We're goofballs.
Sure. Plenty
Doesn't mean what I'm saying isn't absolutely true.
You know what we do have? Steps.
Step 1 is moderately fun. So I'm going to, it's maths. So this is a 14-inch canvas. So it's 11 by 14. And if we were to believe the canvas, we would divide that in half. Now, that's inches. If you are like the rest of the world and are on the metric system, one, good for you. But I don't know the metric math. So I'm going to do the...
Bravo for being modern and using science.
I'm going to use the inches because I know how to do that. But, you know, it's a number of centimeters. I use conversions like when I have to figure that out. And I'm going to use my T-square first vertically.
You mean like the other side of the ruler?
Mm-hmm.
Like right there, other side.
The other side, yeah, but it doesn't go all the way across, so there's just no way. I can't add all the centimeters up. And there's a conversion tool online that will tell you how many centimeters it is. The reason I do this part is I'm not using a drafting ruler. And even though I'm on a classic cotton canvas by Art Alternatives, which I think is a very square canvas, it's one of the things I love about them. The inexpensive cheapy rulers sometimes are not totally perfect, and I have found that if I just do a couple of measurements both directions, what I get is a much better vertical that make up for it. Or if you don't like doing that, then go ahead and invest in the metal architectural T-square, which will be absolutely perfect and nigh indestructible. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get my painter's tape. Now, this is stick tape, S-T-I-K-K. You could use any painter's tape. It's just a low-tack tape. I'm going to pull out enough to bisect my canvas and tear it. And I'm going to come here and tape along the edge as neatly as I can. Maybe you can do it more neatly than I can. That's possible too. I don't consider myself the tidiest in the world.
Taping is a loose art.
Taping is a loose art. But I'm going to say for those of us that are cluttered who got grief, because I just came out of 2 years of getting daily grief for not alphabetizing my world. I don't think there's anything wrong with alphabetizing your world. But I'm just going to say, just because I didn't put all the labels out doesn't mean I don't have my stuff together.
I drew pictures. I'm a picture person.
Yeah.
I have bins with pictures.
Both ways are okay.
I draw pictures.
Both ways are okay.
Although my bins are not very organized. I'll have a bin of audio cables, and then there's a lot of audio
In my mayhem, I have a plan, is what it is. I have a plan in my mayhem, you know.
Leave me to sort my bins.
Right. Leave me to sort my own bins.
What do you taped it down? What I'm
doing here is I'm just taking my nail. I'm using the acrylic nail burnishing technique.
Okay, so which side? Let me ask you something. How do you remember which side of it you're painting on?
Okay. So I have oriented the tape. If you've noticed, here's the line, and I've oriented it on the right-hand side, which means I'm painting on the left. When I switch the tape over, when we dry this and switch it over to the left-hand side, I'll be painting on the right. And the reason that you know that is the tape is taking up about 1 inch of my right-hand side, which would be the sky. So if I painted on this side of the tape, I would have a lot of sunset and not enough.
You'd be biased to one side.
I would be super biased.
But that's
my
okay.
bias.
If you ended up with that way, you could just have a little extra dude on the side creeping in saying hello, and just balance the picture that way.
Peggy Smith says, "Love you both just as you are. Fooey with the complainers. Be yourselves and don't stress the rest." I'm coming back to that. I'm gonna be really honest. Like, I'm coming back into my mental health, guys. I took a hard hit, and it's been a crazy struggle, and I have been coming back into my mental health. I think we all have. Being with my mom
Yeah.
recently has been very healing because my mom is just like so grounding and kind and really just cool with whatever's going on. So it's nice. All right.
Yeah.
While we're immigrating to Ireland, which we're still doing, let's give us another step and we'll do what's next. Now, I have a lot of ways that I can do this, but I'm going to start out with a big chunky round. This is a number 18 hog bristle brush in a round. This is from the Artany line. I will have this in the store when we're open. And also I have this nice 1-inch Select Princeton oval mop. If you don't have this brush, like somebody today was saying, well, I'm shopping at Walmart. A lot of times makeup companies will make a synthetic brush for blending or blush that's in this exact shape that's also synthetic, and they work really well too. Just a fun fact. I think the brush companies actually knocked off that brush. It's just a feeling that I have. I'm going to put this to the side because I'm going to use that for my soft blending. I'm going to get this a bit wet, take off the extra moisture on my paper towel, and I'm going to come over here to my Cad Red. I don't mind if I get a little quinacridone magenta, but I'm going to start with my Cad Red and my Doc's Purple together. Okay, we're making a nice little kind of Doc's Purple. Get a little white into it so you can see the purple. You see that?
Yeah.
And we're going to come up to the top. And we're going to go across. Now, some of what works for me here is that this classic cotton canvas does not aggravate me. And I love it for that. And I'm doing kind of what's called a scumble. I'm roughly working this in. So it's covering the canvas, even into the filaments of the canvas. I'm going to get a little more red into my brush. If I need some more water, I can get it. Tap off the extra. I need to be able to see my water surface, so I can just get just the toe of my brush in there. And I'm going to come in and work back up using this into my purple. The purple is still wet. I'm coming back up with this blend. See how I'm doing here? And then where the dark purple and the purple red are meeting, I'm coming back over with my toe, working these in. I'm going to rinse out a little bit. Rinse out. Get my brush wiped off with a towel. What I'm doing when I do all those little things is I'm controlling the amount of water. And if I think there's too much water, I'll come back and pull it out. I love hog bristle brushes. And the reason you don't see tons and tons of acrylic artists using them is because you have to control the water in them, because they hold a lot of water. Oil painters who don't use water aren't particularly concerned with that. And you can see I'm just blending, blending, blending. Now I'm going to take my red and my yellow together. I'm going to make a nice bright orange. We're going to come in and work in a nice bright orange. Just right across. We're creating a transition. See how this is just giving us a nice little transition down into our very intense sunset. Now, if I want to smooth this out, I can come through with this brush. Look at this right here. And smooth that out quite a lot. Because it's dry, I can do that. Get that extra paint off those little filaments so I can still blend with it in a minute. So I'm wiping it off on the paper towel, kind of cleaning off that extra paint so it's still blendy in a minute, and then I'll rinse it out. And I get a little more light orange. This is a yellow orange. And I'm going across. That's pretty much how you do this sunset anywhere. So this is just a good skill for you guys to have just generally. And you can see that I notice that my brush handle is sometimes up and it's sometimes down, and the head of my brush is facing different directions. That is part of what is helping me blend the paint. That little irregularity diffuses a lot. Now if I go back into this, I'm going to rinse it out. I'm going to get a lot of it back out of my brush. I'm going to come into my yellow. It's okay if a little orange gets into that yellow. And I'm going to work the whole rest of the surface with the yellow. Maybe a little orange will get in there. And I'm going to work it up into my orange before my orange is dry. And the reason is with acrylic paint, you can't blend once it's dry. You have to use a glazing technique or dry brushing technique to blend once the paint is dry. Wet into wet only works when the paint's wet. So this technique moves along at a pretty good clip because you're trying to beat the paint, if that makes sense. See how we're just doing this? It's just a beautiful blendy, blendy, blend.
Just working with it wet, so you gotta kind of go.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's okay. I'll paint that out in a second. I bumped my canvas. It won't harm me because I'm coming back over in a minute. Now, while I've got my brush still here, I'm going to do a nice soft blending. And then you can see that kind of creates that soft, diffuse blending. Make sure it's right up to the little edge here. With yellow, I pay a little more attention to the coverage just because it's a transparent color. But that is the basis for how I get just touching up. Am I being fussy? Yes. It's okay to be a little fussy. Sometimes I can see like little pops in the canvas, which is just where the paint didn't go all the way into the weave. And so I'll work it and make sure that it's all the way into the weave. Now, I need to wash that brush out. I want to get all that paint off that brush and put it to the side to dry. And I will wash it thoroughly, and I mean thoroughly, after the show. Let's clean this up a little bit while I'm here, though. I'm going to use this soft brush to sort of clean up my little boo-boos. If they haven't dried yet, they will clean up. Wash out this yellow brush. And pick up a paper towel. And just smudge away some of the yellow. It won't show through what's next, but it doesn't hurt me to pick a little of it up. The other thing that I can do is I can take a little white thing and just make that go away. So it's just not, it's not problematic. Now, I am going to dry this and pull and reset the tape for the next step. So you guys ready to do that? Heather C., thank you so much.
Yeah.
Heather C. for the win.
So thank you guys. Thank you so much for supporting us. We really love doing this and being here with you guys. So all of your support really is appreciated all as we go. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Those are all ways that you can help us. Go over and check out theartsherpa.com. You can find all the resources and things that we put together for you over there. Yeah, and just make sure you thoroughly dry your canvas. That way when we go on to the next step, you're dry and ready to go. See, she's checking there to make sure it's not tacky, because who wants tacky paint? We'll probably peel this and then we'll go on to the next step. Just got that nice light coat there. Give it that cool background effect. Now we're going to peel it before we go on to the next step.
Peel it. It's peeled.
Peeled.
But it still has stick, which is good because it's pricey. Use the fingernail burnishing method. But you know, just as much as possible, I come back along the line that I made. I don't want to create any white canvas. I do want the paint to be solid because the tree comes up to center middle. And I am going to be fussy about the straight line, but honestly, it's not that big a deal. Now you'll notice that I oriented the tape over to the left side. That's because I'm going to be painting the right side in. Oh, the bug. Thank you. The bug came by in spite of having a ton of schoolwork to do and papers to write, to come here and say hi to us. And I want to say hi back. We love the bug. Hello, friends. I'm working, so don't be mad if I don't talk. We would never be mad at you. And then Brandy Hanvey says, okay, this is my first live, but when I tried to do it on iPhone and mobile page, I didn't see chat. I had to load full web page on iPhone, and I'm having a hard time because it's so big. So if you're on the YouTube app, there is some way to pull the chat out that everybody knows that I don't know. So can you guys give some chat tips if you're on the on the phone app and you've got to control chat? I don't remember what that is because I'm usually on the desktop, or I am actually using the chat, which is real big. You're right, it's big. It's like if you were painting along, it's a itty bitty picture, and then chat. So that's what's happening there. Good. I said that so seriously. It's like very intense. Good. All right. So I'm going to rinse out my brush very, very much. I don't want any yellow in it. I want kind of clean water. So I'm going to get to one of my little clean waters. I'm going to take all the water out of this that I can. I need 2 of these is what it is. I have 2. They're just packed because we're relocating someday. We're in the middle of it. And they're packed. We just thought it would be faster in the relocation. All right, I'm going to take a little ultramarine blue and titanium white.
There is no fast relocation.
Same technique, but we don't have to do so many color transitions. So that same sort of scumbly technique that we kind of mastered earlier. This technique also works for a myriad of day and night paintings. If you're somebody who's like, I love this idea of painting day and night. And if you need a 1 hoot version of this, I have 2 cats on either side of a Q-tip tree. Super easy. And if you're ready for a little bit above the 2 cats above the Q-tip tree, I have a couple who are sat on either side of a tree. Just coming through here, just putting all the blue in. I'm not using the phthalo blue, I'm using the ultramarine blue. Sometimes I'll put more white in and I'll kind of blend it through. I like to just make this as interesting as I possibly can. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm going to grab a little bit of my quinacridone and my ultramarine blue together. Makes kind of a little lavender. And just sort of wiggling it through. Getting a little more white. When I come up here, you can see I just get a lot softer with the brush. A little bit more white on this inside, maybe a little more white right here. Almost gives kind of a misty effect. I'm going to rinse out a good bit. Good bit all rinsed out. I'm going to load up with some white and a little quinacridone. It's just pink, yo. This is a seriously therapeutic technique. If you can be chill with yourself and not be like, I have to be perfect the first time I've ever tried this. If you can just avoid that sort of mental self-talk and just be like, listen to the noise of the brush on the canvas and enjoy the way the white fills up with pink, it can be very restful. Just working it up, working it down, working it all around. Why am I doing that? I don't know. I love Google. According to Google, the best canvases are Blick Primer Cotton Canvases and Fredericks. They are very good. They are very good. Best is ampersand, though. It's the best of the best of the best, sir. But it's a prime gesso board, so that would be the reason why it may not pull up on Google as best canvas. Best surfaces. Also, they're priced that way, so what you do is you do your designs on all kinds of other things, and then when you're ready for the big show with the painting, right, then you get the ampersands out. Look at us go. We have both sides done.
Yep, they're both done.
We have painted a sunset and a kind of like, I don't know, I would call it like a nighty dawn, you know, kind of that sort of thing. I'm going to dry it and pull my tape. Going to dry it and pull my tape.
Yeah, I'm going to slide cinnamon over. I think I'm going to go to my little adjuster. Where'd it go? I'm on the wrong one. I need to go to boop, boop. But while I'm doing that, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. I'm making some adjustments here to where everybody, where she's, oh, there we go. Now we can get you over. I'm going to actually shrink her down a little bit. That way we can, boop, there. That way she can be out of the way of the painting as we move forward, so we can see all of those little framing pieces. There. And, yeah, thank you guys for hanging out over here. I just looked over and saw all of our peoples. It's so nice to see everybody.
Hi, Colleen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I got trolled really hard over on the watercolor channel this morning. Somebody tried to scam her all over my channel. And Colleen helped me get through that. So actually, I probably should be sending her a super chat or at least a cup of coffee. What do I think of Artist Loft canvases, says Lynn? They're okay. They can be a little plasticky. They can, resist paint sometimes. Not everyone, but sometimes. I don't like that they cut the fold, but they're good. They work. You know, I've done a lot of painting on them. You've seen me do it on the show, and they've been fine. And that's the important thing to know. Are all acrylic paint properties the same, even craft paint? All acrylic paint properties? Well, there's a lot of properties in acrylic paint. The core properties are the same across all acrylic paints, but there are specialty properties in body and rheology that can differ between the paints. That's, you know, how the body of the paint, the stretch of the paint, if it's self-leveling, if it holds even as it dries and doesn't shrink, all those things from string gel to heavy body gel, those properties differ across products and are specific, but the core properties of acrylic paint are the same. Ooh, I zippered that perfectly for the show. I zippered it perfectly. I'm just saying, guys, check that. A lot of times what will happen is if you don't get the burnish down perfectly, there's a little bit of capillary effect, even under painter's tape that sort of pulls a little bit of paint. Super annoying. But I got my burnish, which is pressing the tape, edge of the tape down where I need it to seal really good with these new nails. And so it worked. Now we get to put in the tree, or actually we got to sketch in the moons, which are going to look like a bum for a second.
We go on to step 4.
Step 4. So in my step 4, I'm going to use a chalk tool. Let me find my chalk tool. This is a chalk tool. It's a good chalk tool. Do I have another chalk tool? Yes, I do. I have yellow and I have white. So we'll see what shows. Now, the first thing is that I kind of want to generally think about sketching a heart. Right? Because overall, what do I want this end result to be? A heart. So when I designed this, that was actually a step that I took. I was like, okay, I want the tree to be a heart, but I want the inside to be pretty round, you know. So I've got yeah, it's got some bum looks. It's bummy. It's like a bum. But this lets me help get kind of a very round moon or a very round sun that I can work that on. I can really get the shape of my heart with my branches, but this is the start of my heart. All right. So once I have those in, you can faintly see those, solo cup. The technical among you will be asking this question. It is 3.5 inches across the top. And it looks like 9 centimeters. Look at me. I did that for you. Because I'm kind and I love y'all very much. I do. Love y'all very much.
Very lovable.
You guys are lovable. It's a true facts. True story. Okay, so we're going to have to do another step and we'll paint. Let's start with, I think, the sun. The sun's a fun one to paint. What am I going to use? I will go ahead and use a smaller round. And I still have my bigger round if my small round is making me work too hard. So this is my 18. This one is my number 8. Yep. Look, at some point you need vision enhancers, right? I'm going to start with just my plain yellow. I haven't even gotten my brush wet. And I'm going to start working the outside with just cad yellow. I know my tree's going to go over this. But it's an opportunity for me and you to practice, you know, doing more subtle gradations and transitional color mixes. I'm wondering if anyone is going to paint a mass coronal ejection going, destroy the world. Sorry. Been watching a lot of space YouTube lately. I keep thinking that there's going to be like, we found aliens, and then they don't find aliens, and then, but they get me with the thumbnails. John is often laughing because they trick me with a clever use of thumbnails.
Sometimes they do.
They do. Now, once I have that yellow in there, I'm going to just grab some pure white. And I'm going to begin blending in. I haven't rinsed out my brush. And I may need to put a little water in it because, you know, it's got to have some blendability. Look at this. Here we go. And we love you more. Hi, Amy. Good to see Amy and Courtney today. Good to see the crew. Listen, if you're new here, if you're one of the many, many people in the room, and you're not just actively painting along, be sure and say hi. It's a friendly group. And if you're just feeling like you need a little more socialization, I'd say not a better group of people anywhere that I've seen online to connect to. And there's some cool communities online, but these are really great peeps. I can come back and work my yellow back in. And I just work this a couple of times to shade out my sunball. Because I want it to be really luminous behind my branches, don't I? Irene's like, I'm hooked on Twin Paranormal. I am just sucked in. There's this one YouTuber that gets me. They do like really clickbaity thumbnails, and then I click it and I forget who they are, and then I'm like, oh, I know you. There isn't going to be any of the things that you said in your thumbnail and title in this video. You just lied. The only one that can do that to me that I don't get mad at is Way Top. Because
that's all that it is clickbait.
It is, but his clickbait I respect. Anton Petrov, am I saying that correctly?
Anton, yeah.
Anton Petrov.
What da math?
What da Math is a fantastic, if you're a person who like grooves on space and science, Anton Petrov. Fantastic YouTuber. I am a super fan. Well,
I believe he's a Canadian.
Is he Canadian?
I think he's from Toronto, I think.
I don't. You know what? I don't stalk other YouTubers enough to know their geolocation.
He just talks about it because he talks about where he's
I'm
at
just accusing you of stalking.
Astronomy purposes, because like you're like, well, when I'm up here and we get
yeah, I guess that's important information in the astronomy.
Yeah, you got to know where you're at in that.
So that's looking pretty good. You can see I just build up. The reason I build up the yellow is that yellow is a very transparent color. Moon goes much quicker and easier, but the yellow just, I find student yellow, professional yellow, you got to work the yellows more. Elizabeth is like, my retired science teacher husband is impressed with cinnamon CME knowledge. That's fun knowledge until you think about what it actually is. And then it's like knowledge that you take with yourself, like, you know, there's a series of things that you know that you wish you didn't know. That's like one of them.
How long it has been since
the last one,
the last fault on the West Coast, or the last Carrington event, or the last. There's a whole lot of.
There's just
time. Time is not really doing us
a favor here, right?
Maybe it is. Maybe it's like no, we're gonna save it all up for one big happy day.
Oh, the one that gets me right now, here's for your science husband, the one that just keeps me up at night. We're going to continue painting white in the center, guys. We're just going to continue. I need to put out some fresh white because I don't want any purple in my white because that will dull my yellow because they're contrasting colors. So the one that keeps me up at night is the Fermi paradox.
Not the AI.
No, AI doesn't keep me up because I grew up in Gen X and I have been raised to accept that the robot overlords are coming. It is the Matrix. I accept this.
Or that quantum computing is going to simultaneously solve all of our problems.
And create all of them. Yes. Yeah, all those things I'm completely calm with. But like that we're struggling to see anybody out there, that gets to me. That idea that there's a gray filter.
Well, was it the lone
I'm just painting more yellow in the center. See, this is why you paint with us, is because we talk about the cool stuff. But see, I'm just giving myself the time to just work that out and make that till I'm happy. I want it to be lighter in the center and warmer and glowier at the edges.
Probably the most interesting paradox is the folding protein paradox.
Anton did a video just recently about that. And I was just looking at John like, why do you grab me for these? Did I need to know that? And then you know what I do since we're visiting my mom. My mom is also a YouTuber and also paints. I grab her and I'm like, Mom, did you know about this? And then she's like, stop telling me these things. She's like, I just want to go on a cruise. I'm like, I just thought you should know.
Of all of, like when you start applying math to it, you're like, wait a minute. There's more variations of folding than there are planets in the known universe.
Oh, it's bigger than that.
Yeah, by orders of magnitude.
By orders of magnitude, yeah. Yeah, it's never good when somebody's like the astronomical scale, tiny comparatively. I'm like, that gets to be a little Ant-Man for me, not to cross into the Marvel universe. We're gonna dry this and go paint our moon, but it does. It's a little bit into the quantum universe kind of a thing. The metaverse.
As a wiser man than me once said, that's no moon. But what do I know? Next, we're going to paint the other orbital body that's going to form the, the other side of the tree. That's it. We're gonna keep painting. Just keep painting. So thank you guys for being part of our crazy Sunday afternoon tree of love with two celestial bodies intertwined as it should be.
Okay, so we have our nice sun that we're super happy with, and we're going to do our moon. You ready to do your moon? I'm going to put out a little bit of my Mars black. I think I don't want to use my fluid paint. I want some heavy body paint. So I'm going to dig through my colors. Ooh, that's purple.
Since we're talking about cool astro stuff, now's a good time to talk about what I learned about all the cool paint.
Oh, about the black? Oh, I'll just use that. That's a good idea.
Oh, that's a good. You can totally plug it while we're using it. So
this is very cool. I'm going to use this black. It is Mars black. The particular one that I'm using is 759 Mars black from the Abstract Matte Soft Body. This is the only one that everything we're about to say is true about. If you have anyone that's into astronomy, you got to get them that gift. And yes, it is the Super Bowl.
So
I'm going to take my blue. John's going to tell you this when we're in a quiet moment, though. So we're going to talk to you about that. I'm going to take my phthalo blue over to my Mars black.
That's her way of saying not now.
That's my nice way of saying not now. And I'm going to make a gray. And we're going to start painting in our moon. And this side will be a little more gray at the moment. Let's put our glasses back on. And no, this is not going to be an accurate moonscape, John. So let's just not even start now,
As the gentleman once said, that's no moon.
It is a moon. It is my moon, my artistic moon, and you are not in charge of it.
No.
So I'm just getting my little gray over here down. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe off my brush on a paper towel. That offloads some of the pigment. And I'm going to grab a little more white, and I'm going to begin to do my moon layers. My moon layers.
Moon layers.
I'm going to wiggle my brush around. I'm still using the number 8 hog bristle brush. I haven't even had to use the big one.
I'm all about moon layers.
I'm going to grab more white. It's going to be lots and lots of fun. And you can see the handle goes up, the handle comes down. I'm working around. I'm dancing this brush around the canvas, friends. I'm dancing it around the canvas. And John's going to tell you during drawing why that paint is really cool. That's when you get to tell.
That's what I'll tell them about. Okay.
That's when you get to tell. He's going to tell you why that paint is the coolest paint during the hair drying.
You'll have to remind me because I may forget it.
Well, because I've got a hair drying at some point during this, but I don't want to necessarily change the whole step.
Oh, so it's going to be mid-step dry.
Yeah, so while I'm doing that, I'm going to rinse out.
That got unfocused. How did it happen?
Are you focused?
The top one got bumped for while it was away, so I had to refocus it.
Oh, okay. So I'm just adding a little bit more. Right, this is the beginning of my moonscape. Maybe come back and lighten it back here. Right. Now, to get the next layer going, I am going to dry this. John will talk to you about the coolness of the paint. And then, oh my gosh, I thought there was a bug on the screen because it looked like something was, but it was my, I don't know what was good. That's so weird. Okay.
All right.
I'm going to dry it. You tell them.
Okay. So real quick, in astronomy, we're always looking for the black paint to coat the inside of things with. And there's a lot of stuff we've gone over, from like spray paints, matte black paints, the black 2.0, 3.0, the one that begins with an M, all those things. So and being a bunch of kind of nerdy kind of people, we do all sorts of stuff like infrared tests, diffraction tests, angle of incident tests. And what it comes down to is that this paint, like, no parameter around it, is the best for astronomy just all around, because it has the lowest reflection of black at a low angle of incident than any other paint.
All right, I'm going to add more white. John can keep explaining that, but we're going to start kind of lightening up our moon.
Yep.
So I'm adding a little bit of white. I'm making sure this is super dry. Super dry.
Super dry to get all the tranquil mares.
That's right. The mares I choose to do. The ones I like.
Right.
On my moon. On Kepler 22b.
That's right. So yeah. So but anyway, the paint it's super. They have there's a lot of carbon in there, which makes it really good. And people talk about how some blacks, when you look directly on them, look black. And
I just added some more black and white in there.
And there are some that will appear darker than this black when viewed head on. But as soon as you start to tilt the surface and you get what's called the angle of incident on the deflection of light to it, this paint super shines. Like it just, well, actually it doesn't shine. It becomes invisible, and that's what you want in a telescope tube. So we like it. And it sticks to everything.
It does. It's really cool.
It's very well made paint. Doesn't flake off. It withstands the paint
It's
fluctuations.
not pricey.
It's not. That's what we kept going over. It's like you can buy the really expensive black 3.0 and metal aluminized parts. But this stuff is like glue. It sticks to everything.
And they make all the colors. So think about that for a second, guys. Now I'm adding more white over here. Right? We're layering up our moon. And this is the fun part. Now what I'm doing here, this is dry brushing. Right? Just coming here and dry brushing. And you can see this irregularity begins to give us that moon feeling, doesn't it? And come here and maybe add some.
There are many craters.
Well, it doesn't have an atmosphere, so stuff hits it. It's tough being in space without an atmosphere.
Just get that one. Just get the big Copernicus and you're going to be okay.
I don't have to get any part of this in my moon. So someday
it's my moon and I'll do what I want
to. Do what I want to. Do what I want to. Someday for John, I will paint a geographically accurate moon. If ever you're like, what is she doing with this moon? She's being so specific. That's John's video. You can watch it too, but I'm just saying it's John's video.
There's this cool thing.
So I'm just coming along here and I'm adding a lot of white. You could watch the Super Bowl, which is cool, or you can paint this ridiculous moon with me. Now notice that this brush is fluffy and a hot mess. That is part of the power of this brush.
I like it. It's very pretty.
Notice that you can see the paint just going over the surface of the canvas and there's gray underneath, and that's creating some little visual effects that we really like. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get some white sort of thickly on my brush. And it's just bright white. Let me rinse out. I may even switch brushes. So I'm going to put down this number 8 hog. I'm going to put out a little more white paint. I'm going to put out a little more white paint. This edge is important. The reason I'm being fussy here is there aren't branches that hide this edge. So this is one area on these structures where I have to pay attention. I'm going to use a number 10 Textura round. It's just a round brush. I just want a round brush. That's synthetic. And get it wet. I'm going to load up a little white on the tip. And come along here. And make sure this edge on my moon has a nice, this part is important. Noticing that I'm giving a nice crisp edge. Now I'm going to come back in. Tap up and down this side. This is actually a very cool moon effect. The trick is you want to make a regular, notice that irregularity along that pattern. That's the trick there. Get that irregularity. Get bits that go in and bits that go out. John, thinking that I had to accurately get our particular lunar structure. What I eventually learned was for the purposes of art, there were just effects that were important.
No, I agree with that. I think that just having an emotional a connection to these things is probably the most probably important thing.
Oh, now you agree. Now you agree.
I'd just like to give you a
2 in the morning, you don't agree. We are interesting. You can see I do similar, like little kind of wiggly brush strokes to blend as well here, so don't feel like you're just ever stuck. But again, the part that's really a big deal is this outer edge. Other stuff does peek through the branches, but they cover a lot. And so that really gives you some forgiveness. That's the moon, my friends. That is the moon. I'm going to mist my paint. Mist, 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 mist. That just keeps my paint. I'm on a wet palette, but also if I miss the surface, it doesn't dry out. We're going to dry this, and then we're going to come back and start painting the tree that never ends.
So, this is actually turning out really nice. Yeah, she's just once it dries, you can just brush off the chalk as you get, because it won't hurt anything at all. You can use just a soft brush to brush up steps. And while you're waiting, give a thumbs up. That's what you can do while you're waiting.
All right.
Now to 7 step.
So we had a candy. I think it was candy. Yes. Anyone verify the size of acrylic April canvases? They are 8x8, but I am changing Tight Knit yellow to Hansa lemon yellow. Or a light lemon yellow. Any Hansa yellow light, any Cad yellow light, any light, just to give us the green yellow, because it's easier to find, and the Tight Knit is going to be on short supply, I think. Can you? The thing about my nails is they don't peel the thing. So John's going to peel the thing, and I'm going to be using this to do my tree. I'm also going to be using my round brush to do my tree. I'm going to be looking for my rounds, good points, that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to have my round here, and I'm going to have this liner, my fluid paint. Oh, is the cap messed up?
No. Yeah,
you just left with it.
Huh?
You left with my cap.
It's not a cap. It's just a peel thing.
Oh, what did I do? Blaming John for something that I did. That's sad. Now I'm going to put this over by my black. I don't mind if they mix together, okay? I just want to have it. Now this, you could thin your black with water to make a more fluid consistency. You can absolutely do that, but this will help me get a lot of coverage, and you'll see this when I brush this out. You may want to reset your traceable if you need to right about now. I'm going to kind of give my tree a little bit of a sketch. I know that I've got down here, I need to end it about there so that I have room for my roots. Maybe I need my white chalk so I can see it better. I'm making sure I've got a nice little bendy bend of a fellow that I've got coming up, so that when I start to put it in, I am following that heart feeling. So that's the big thing, is trying to make sure that the tree is making my heart, and I am also painting a tree. So I'm going to load my black up here, and I'm going to just be brave and start painting the big main part of the trunk in. And you can see that that's just really good coverage. This is like a powerful trick for getting better lines. You'll notice that I bent it there. I'm going to come down here. I like things to be sort of bendy. And then I'm going to kind of curve in the strokes. A lot of this tree has got a curving in little bend in the wood. It's twisted. Twisted and gnarled. So like this might come down here and bend over. Adding little branches going over on the right. Coming to that bottom. So you can see I'm starting to anchor it around the objects. I will be doing the thickest parts of the trees and branches with this brush, and then I'll start putting in details with a little detail brush. And it just takes a second. This is when we should be chatty because we'll be doing this forever. You're going to be, you know, painting on your tree a little bit for a second here. That nice little thick branch coming over. We've got lots of branches that will be coming out of that center. That's a nice little side branch coming off. That one's pretty cool. Just pulling little branches over. Start that little twist on how they're going to hold everything. There you go. That's a nice little gnarly twirly one there, isn't it? It's another little gnarly twirly one. Okay. So when I have that basic in, let's call that a step because you've got to get that basic weird shape in, and then this suddenly makes that traceable make more sense with the two balls in the strange shape in the center. You're like, oh, I get what you're saying. Dry everything so you're not dragging paint. Sorry, I just realized that.
Okay, we'll step after. So yeah, we'll just re-step after. So yeah, thoroughly dry. That way, when you're going over, you're not dragging wet paint, and you can kind of work your way through all that. It doesn't take very long for this stuff to dry, so I figured she would just be like, boop, gone, there and back. It's looking pretty good there, though. The base of your tree. And what's really great about using this matte paint is it really makes it pop against the white again a little later. So that'll be a nice added effect once we get there. Just make sure you thoroughly dry it. Boop, boop. Get you all framed in there so when we're ready next, that's where we'll be. Now we're going to re-step it.
Yes. And we're going to take our #1 liner and we're going to start up here at the top. I'm going to kind of rest my hand so that I can get good control. And we're going to be making tiny little branches. Just twisting ever woven tiny little branches. They come down a little bit. And that's going to kind of exaggerate the heart shape there. You can come up to this top branch that's there. These are delicate little fine branches. So the liner that I'm using and the paint that I've got on here absolutely helps with fine lines. The fact that my pressure on my brush is very light. I'm going to bring out little tree branches like here. So on your, oh, here's a practice canvas. On your branches, when you've got a little line like this coming up, notice it goes different directions, doesn't it? At one of the bends, I might join it with another one. Right? So that's how I'm getting the separation on those little tree branches. That's how I'm following those little things. Now what happens to a lot of people is that they come up and they go like this and they give themselves the chicken foot or the fork, whichever you want to look at it. So you do want to practice creating those little variants that come off your tree branch, okay? So that's a technique that you're looking to do. Also, these will curve around here to hug the sun. See how we're getting them in? Trees are not technique hard. They are just time and labor hard. I am sure the mods will probably also timestamp like when I did the little tree demo or give you guys some information because they tend to on where those are. But that's really what it is just trying to follow your little bends and avoid the forks. Chicken foot, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to bring a little branch that maybe comes down and twists into that other little branch. You know, because they do that. You can see it's a little fuller over here because this side represents daytime and summer and those types of energies. Just weaving those in and breaking those around. Super fun to do, actually. It's very relaxing. Yeah. You've got this. If this were ASMR, I would be like, bend the tree branches around the sun. You can do this gently with your brush. Sometimes I like to try to trick like strange people coming in here for like half a second and are like, oh my gosh, is this ASMR? No, it's not. We got you. Now we're going to keep bringing this around. We're really creating some anchoring branches, right? That will let us put in all the leaves and flowers that we're going to be enjoying in a second. Now, periodically, you're going to have to rinse off your brush and wipe it off with a towel all the way from the handle down so you don't have a hidden drop, because the paint will start drying on the brush and it will mess up your line. And you could be in such a calm, relaxed space that you might miss that. I'll come back in and just weave and weave and weave and weave. Just bringing those little branches out that we know are going to hold leaves, and that's going to help pull that heart shape over there. Heart shape over there happens from that. You guys have this. Okay, I can put some in here. Adding little daggery. Little branches coming in and around. And now you can kind of see why I wanted to do the yellow on the outside and the white on the center, why I had made that decision. These are starting to weave together. That's nice. Kind of pulling a little branch off there. And it will have lots of leaves and flowers and things. So that's the big thing. It's just thicken this little branch right here. Make it more gnarly. Oh my goodness, Rebecca has been a member for 24 months. That is so awesome. Thank you so much. I like having nice big spots of sky that kind of show through and everything, because it does give us a lot of personality. The big thing is just making sure we have lots of little branches that are coming out that our leaves and flowers will be sticking to, so that they are for sure looking like they're anchored to a tree. And come over on this side. Adding some little branches that have maybe, happened here. Just pulling them out this side. Time has flown by. I love the group and its leaders. Well, thank you so much.
So nice to be with everybody.
It really is. We're really lucky to get to do this, guys. We are together. Just generally, being able to paint is a precious gift. It gives you a lot of resources and tools. Getting thicker paint here so I can kind of get a nice branch going. And that's what I'm doing, is I'm creating little branches that I enjoy. right? And I'll be like weaving different, you know, bits of the tree together. So it becomes very evident that it's not just a single branch, it's branches together. I'm going to bring this up here, up around the moon. Kind of see how that goes out. So that's holding it there, but this is why I said this was a bigger deal. That's why. Making sure that these sort of weave there. All right, that's what you need to get for the upper tree base. Let's call a step. We don't have to draw anything, but let's come and start putting some roots in. I've rinsed out my brush and I have reloaded. Still using the #1 monogram liner. Now I'm going to start, I think these roots, actually I'm going to go back to my Textura just because the liner is going to take forever, and I'm going to start them down with this one and then finish them with the liner. Let's bring down a nice center kind of taproot. It's thick, it's got, you know, it has the ability to take care of the tree. Just using the Textura so I can get the basic roots in. And then I'll finish off with the liner. And then we'll make it make sense with the, it's really like 3 ranges of gray. See, I'm just pulling this down. And these are almost like veins. So it's the same rule as the branches. The roots and the branches are not dissimilar in their architecture and the way that we might think about expressing them. Right, so when I have it that far, I can switch out, I'll rinse out this brush, I'll switch it out, and I'll get into my #1 and I'll start making these interesting little windy lines. See how that gives us a more delicate little root space?
I do.
Can make sure that's good over here. There we go, we're doing great. We can still fill in areas and like make things weave and go back and forth. So you can make interesting little shapes in here. Come in and wind this out. Just work that in. Soft pressure on the brush. Continuing to do little veer offs at the joints. Okay, let's dry that and then we'll go on to the next step.
This is looking so neat.
It's looking cool. It's really, these are fun to do.
Yeah. So we just give it a quick dry, and then as we go on to the next step, you'll be able to see all of the cool details that come together. I think that we're going to go on to the white now. I'm not sure if she's going to put a little touch up on there or not, but we'll find out in just a second. So while we're doing that, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the human-y things down there in the comments below. We really appreciate it. And yeah. Oh, you never know, like, how long is it going to take. So I'm thinking, any moment it'll end. But no, she's going to keep trying. And then right as I think that I have something to say, then she'll stop trying. So this is one of those co-host conundrums, I guess. How long will we dry today? It's a new game.
All right. Let's get back into our round. This is the number 10 texture round. I'm going to grab a little bit of my blue over to my black. I'm going to add some white to it to kind of create a nice little gray. I might even go in and fluid on fluid. Ha 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 ha. Right? White fluid and then black fluid. What's weird?
I think the step stayed up there a long time.
It did. I was like, okay. They know there's a step. So I'm making my dark gray. And I'm going to do an interesting thing here. I'm going to create a little knot. Might have one there too. And I'm doing little curving strokes to kind of talk about the twists in this wood, because it's a very twisted tree, isn't it? Just finding little edges and twisting the wood around. It's super fun to do. And you're going to be coming back with 2 more layers of kind of gray and highlights. So you've got room to really showcase how the tree is bent and gnarled and kind of wild. Brought that little branch up there. Just finding the little spots where I'm gonna bend my tree around. And you got to remember, you can come back with your dark. So even if you lose a shadow that you wished you kept, don't worry about it. So some of the thicker branches I'm carrying a little further out into the tree, and that's just to show them. Just working that one out. I pull that out too a little bit. Okay, when you have the basic twisting on your trunk, you're going to dry this.
Yeah. And as you do these layers coming up, it really, each one of these adds this dimensionality to the final image that's really, really cool. So, you know, just hang in there. Dry between layers, and this will turn out pretty cool. Yeah, so Peggy, sometimes if you refresh, it will update and show you because it isn't always current in its reporting. Sometimes YouTube can be weird. But yeah, definitely, if you guys are there, give us a thumbs up while you're watching. We love to see it. There, let's see if 11 step works.
Okay. Step 11, I'm going to take a lot more of my white. And I'm going to mix it into my darker gray and blue. And I'm going to start twisting up little elements of the roots with my #1 monogram liner. Just making sure that we've got a nice little twist. Pulling different branches in and around. I like to just twist them around. Showing the tree having like interwoven branches. And just bring those to the outside edge. I'm just finding the tops of the previous twirls that I put in.
You're just going through and highlighting all those, eh?
Just go
Just
through.
deep in thought.
Just, yeah, you got to be deep in thought for this, guys. You have to kind of be paying attention or it's not going to work. Not for you, not for me, not for anybody. You got to think a little bit as you're going or you lose your tree. So you're just going to come through here. Kind of creating little elements of your bark. You can see I'm just working out little details. Just play with it. And just keep playing with it. And just follow all the twists around. I would say this twisting is more than anything else why I elevated this painting up to a 3 hoot.
Because all the twists?
Because all the twists. There's a lot of internal visualization that you're doing as a painter and a lot of just playing with your tree to find its twists. And there's a lot of it. It's not like a small amount of it going on. It's a lot. And you want to just find it and go. You can even come back and shade anything that you want to shade. So you're not stuck there. You can always go back into your black and add a shadow back. Come around here and kind of go around creating little highlights on the gnarled bark for the second knot. Now on the moon, some of the shading is a little harder to see, and that's because it's gray on gray. That's okay. Come back with a little black. Play with that to define those little snarls and branches. Defining that little twist on that little branch right there. Coming around, you can see I layer them in. Once I start to turn the branch, then I just kind of lean into where I turned it. Pull some in there. We're just actually going through a lot faster than I originally expected.
It's really nice. I like the striping or the detailing on it. What do you call this?
This is just highlighting on the bark.
Yeah.
I'll come in and get a lot more white on my brush. And come and start to detail, highlight out areas. See how that creates an even bigger drama on the tree?
Yeah.
You just find where you want them. Kind of creates more of the texture and roughness of the bark. Catching it. Makes it a more kind of Methuselah twisted little tree. Little shorter lines. I'm working just the toe of the brush. Not as many continual lines. More textural. And see, that starts to pull those apart from each other. Just playing along there. Most of my attention will be in the interior of the tree. And that's because just a lot of it is either got to depend on contrast out here over on the moon, or is going to have just a lot of leaves and things over it, so there's just no point in getting into it there. Okay, when you have that where you're happy with it, you're going to put this aside. Going to dry everything. My screen just went out.
So, just give it a thorough dry, and hopefully that will have a little. Got a loose wire somewhere that's giving me a little trouble every once in a while. It causes our little screens to go boop boop. So I got to figure out what that's causing it. But yeah, thoroughly dry your surface, and then we'll be on to the next layer of details for the detailing of the detailers of the tree. Next step.
Next step, but I lost my screen. Okay. Steps up. Can't see. Okay. I'm going to sip my I'm painting without knowing where we are in the video. It is what it is. I can see myself over here, so I'm okay. Now we're going to start putting in the leaves, and the leaves are going to be a mixture of phthalo green and burnt sienna. And we'll start mixing those together with our number 10 round, making a very dark green, and we roll, and we're going to load on the toe. Now, at the edges here, where there's little leaves, we make tiny, tiny little dots. I'm not turning my canvas because my canvas is framed statically, and I can't. But you turn your canvas to make this easier for you, or you can end up with like a shoulder injury. Not deep into this tree though with the green, just a little bit up the top. Oh, yeah, totally worked. Now we have this green to do quite a lot of it. It's going to be a dark green and a light green for contrast. So buckle up, Buttercup. We're going to be here for a minute, and we haven't even hit the flowers.
Just you gotta get all the little dots in there to make this really pop.
And you'll notice that when the leaves are further out, I make those dots smaller, and when they're further in, I make them bigger. What would happen, John, if I turned the canvas to make this easier on my shoulder? Would you still be able to frame it in any way?
Yeah, we'd be able to work it out. So it's not a problem.
Remember how I said that there would be a lot here that would cover up your branches? This is what I meant. There's just a lot with the leaves. And when I'm ready, you'll see what I mean about turning for better positioning. Because as we go, if I turn, I can keep orienting to me and take care of both my shoulder health and get a nice directionality.
Yeah, for sure.
It does almost seem black, but when you put the contrast of the green next to it, we'll see much less black.
Right.
So everybody who's here today, instead of doing Super Bowl, I am so glad to have you. I am also, my mom and John Little are watching football today. They're super into the Super Bowl.
I do not.
Yeah, they make snacks as a whole thing.
I'm not even sure which side of the football you're supposed to.
I don't even know who's playing.
I think there's a lace.
Not that there's anything. Beth here was saying that she dated a football player, a Houston football player.
Well, that's. I mean, I guess they have to date.
I don't know. I don't think they should have to date. Beth gets to date, but I don't know if the football players should be allowed to date. I'm not in charge of football, don't worry. Don't. Oh my gosh, if somebody wrote me angrily about Gulf Coast waters, can you imagine how angry they'd write me over football? And then you know what? It would be sad because they would care so much and I wouldn't. Because I don't care about football.
Yeah. I would say that it's not that I don't care. I think I don't care enough to not care. It's apathy is more about it. It's like,
yeah.
If it doesn't have an octane rating, then it's not a sport. It's kind of
for John.
well,
But
for me,
that doesn't mean that football fanatics don't get to be football fanatics. They do. That's what freedom means. So I don't have to get it for you to enjoy it.
that's right.
I feel like I need to explain that to people. Freedom. I do me and you do you. And we don't interfere with each other as long as no crime is being committed and everybody's an adult. I feel like these are simple concepts that everyone should understand. Maybe it's the art I grew up in. Like, I have to tell you, I cannot imagine, not just because I'm an art teacher, but going to an education space and like arguing with the teacher about education decisions that they made for the kids, like for their betterment.
Gotta have a hobby.
I don't get it. If you feel like that, that's what homeschool's for. Or also quarantines, which I also think homeschool is totally fine. I want to homeschool. That's okay. Let's reorient this a little bit, and I'm going to add some middle leaves out there. I just feel like people are just so up on each other's business all the time, especially online.
Sometimes, yeah.
Just like, it's all fine with me. Like, if you don't want to buy a product because you don't like what they're about, I really struggle with PG&E, the power company. You know, we all have companies, DuPont sometimes, because of, hexavalent chromium and other chemicals. But, hey, that's me. I make my own decisions. I'm not going to come in your house and take away your stuff. But also, like, when I quit smoking, I like recognize that everybody's on their own journey, like getting out of cigarettes and smoking and stuff. And I did not like attack people for having a cigarette. I think that's the hardest thing about being Gen X in today's world is like the just busybodiness. I mean, I get sometimes we have to look out for each other, like with seatbelts and stuff. I get that. I do. The rest of it, I don't get. You paint what you want to paint. I'm going to paint what I want to paint. And we will all be okay. Okay, let's see how that's looking. I bet you guys get that. Put up a new step, sir. I think maybe I'll actually even dry it, though. I always do this to mess with you.
It's okay, I haven't put the step up yet. We'll wait until the step is done, then we'll put the next step up. Or we'll next to the drying. Okay, I can wait until the next step is done and put the step up. I gotta wait until she's drying, then I can put the next step up. Yeah. We'll get there. It's important to get the under leaves to be dry before you put on the next leaves, because there's leaf layers that get leafed behind the layers, which is kind of cool. She's thoroughly drying. She's very thoroughly drying. Thoroughly dried.
Thoroughly dry. A lot of leaves on my son today. Thoroughly dry. Now I'm going to get this brush and I'm going to get it wet. I'm going to take a little bit of the green over to my yellow. And I'm going to make a very bright lemony green. You might even need some white in it just to help its coverage. I'm going to roll my brush out and put it on the toe. And I'm going to come back and add. I don't paint out my dark leaves completely because that's the contrast that you need, right? These are lighter leaves. They layer in with the darker leaves. This is a busy tree. So when you guys are like, how hard would this be to paint? I'm like, it's going to take a minute. Gives you a chance to think about like what you're doing with your life. You know, are you liking where you are? That's what I like. And just like everything else, you put your leaves where you want your leaves to be. I'm going to show you how I do it. And I do it this way because it creates a nice contrast and it makes things feel full and fun. And I don't paint out the dark colors. But you know, you also have you in you, the flair of you. And that's got to be okay too. Kind of just trying to get those fullness of that leaves in there. Enjoy those leaves. Leaves happen, which is much better than poop happens.
You gotta get the leaves all over the tree.
But poop also happens. So I have a serious thing to ask you, John.
Serious? In the middle of leafing a tree?
There's so many leaves I have to ask
right.
you the serious questions. I leave the tree.
Leaf away!
I'm going to turn the tree. Turn my tree to have an easier time accessing the leaves that I'm wanting to access. So, there's this thing I'm wrestling with. It's a conundrum. Perhaps moral. I'm not sure. Pumpkin spice latte. So I have noticed over the last few years that there's this sort of sentiment that if you like pumpkin spice latte, that it's very basic. And I'm confused by this because it feels like not basic to me. I really like it. And I don't know if that means I'm basic.
Super awesome.
I feel like I've seen so much negativity online about pumpkin spice latte that I've started like getting it in secret, like
pumpkin
like in a
spice
brown
is
paper
own,
package.
It's its own thing. It's its own dirty little secret.
But see, I don't think it is.
But see,
I don't understand it.
I think it's not fun unless it's secret, and then
no, I think I was just buying it happily on my own.
And then somebody else made
one
it
day
dirty?
I was like on Twitter and there was like all this pumpkin spice latte hate, and I was like, wait, when did that happen?
I don't know.
Well, why don't we like pumpkin spice latte anymore?
They're still tasty.
I love it. I love it. I'm so excited when it's pumpkin spice season. I'm just like, I'm about it. Let's get going. It's good. You know, there's just some things I'm confused about, right? As I leaf through life. Like, you know, weird things that are just not cool anymore. I didn't get the notice on. I didn't get the notice. Some stuff you could see it's drama coming a mile away because people just love a drama, right? Like, I'll tell you what. I heard something today I really liked, and I'm going to give this advice to everybody. Don't language police. Don't do it. Because it alienates people. Yeah. And no point that you make after that can you be heard. You know? Just like, no matter where you are in the world. Like, and especially for artists, because I'll see artists like do this, they'll art cop each other. They'll like correct each other about technique or some, I don't know, something or some belief that they have. and they'll come in and they're like Wingardium Leviosa, not Wingardium Leviosa, whatever that was, right? Like, see, same thing. Man, nobody's gonna hear you after. Let's get back to context and hearing each other. I know I'm breathing into the wind here. It's just a suggestion. But it's just been really weird. I've been just watching stuff lately and I'm like, really? I feel like, we're looking for the misunderstanding. We're just gatekeeping ideas instead of really hearing each other and asking follow-up questions and being able to well, why do you think that's the best technique? No need to come in hot. Why do you think that's the way it is? Heatedly. But we both recognize that we have a valid art practice and we both have different things that we like out of our art. And it was real funny. Mom was asking something because we were talking about good paintings and bad paintings, and Mom has like one position on it and I have another position. But I realize it's about what we're doing, right? Yeah. I'm getting people to paint. So from my perspective, and since I don't really feel like there's any particular goal in a painting that is intrinsically the most important, like it's realistic or it's impressionistic or it has perfect color. None of these things really intrinsically feel that important to me, especially in the world of art, since there's, let's be honest, a banana taped to a wall. You got a banana.
That's pretty decent art.
Banana wall. It could be, and it might not be for everybody, but it was $250,000 decent for somebody.
You know what's great about it? Mm-hmm. Is it comes with its own scent. It's a smell.
Nobody sniffed the banana. I watched every foot of that, right?
I think that
once we decided as an art community to allow a banana to be taped to a wall and to sell it and to say, okay, this is valid. Maybe it's Art Basel valid, but it's valid, right? Where do you say something is good or bad? It's good for you. It's bad for you. You like objective art. You don't like objective art. It's really about your personal goals, right? It's about preference. It's about expression and preference. And I don't gotta get it to be okay with it. Like all the time I'll see art I don't get it. I mean, I get it. I understand the concepts behind it and the reasoning and the whole like art world and the movements that led up to it and why it exists right now. But it doesn't really speak to me, right? I'm looking at it going, I don't really get it. But I don't got to get it to be okay with it, with the exception of Twombly, which I don't get and I'm not okay with. But even then, I don't like smack the Twombly out of somebody else's hand. Do you know what I'm saying? Metaphorically?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I have no gets.
I have no gets, but I don't gotta get it. Why do I gotta get it? That's the other thing. Like when someone's out there like, this is how I think life should be, and you're not living life how I think it should be, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, why does your opinion matter? Like, do you ever wonder that? Like why do any of us care? Like, feel that way. That's cool. Feel that way.
This conversation is
I just have a lot of leaves to fill in, and so I've decided to lose a lot of subscribers.
It's so topical, it's in vogue.
I've decided, you know what? I've decided to keep only the subscribers that get me. But seriously, probably if you're about telling somebody else how to live their life, at some point I am gonna offend you. I could predict this right now. I am. Not because I said anything intrinsically bad, but because I believe people have free will and they have a right to just be themselves. Like the art they like the books they like, read the things that they want to read, watch the movies I like the first John Wick movie. I don't like every John Wick movie, but I'm not mad at the fans of that movie. Look at that. There we go. It's looking pretty good. We've been at it forever. And you took out the camera again. But I'm going to dry the canvas anyways. You want to mute me and I'll dry the canvas?
Yeah. This is almost there. You know what? I tap this thing. No, this is. She can't. She asked me to mute her. I might have to unmute you.
You have to
I
mute
muted
me?
you because you were doing.
I was about to do this.
Or you do that and then I'll talk to you.
Okay.
So then I have no idea why these things keep giving me all the troubles that they do. Okay, it's back over there. Just looking around. Man, I have a loose cable, and I know it because whenever I tap this, it wiggles, and then it does its thing. So I think I know where the problem is. It's one of those, in a studio, you have these HDMI cables, and HDMI cables tend to randomly go bad. And then next up is these things called SDI cables, and SDI cables just spontaneously destroy themselves for no reason at all. Perfectly good, perfectly plugged in, industrialized connector stops working. Just says no, not good anymore. And there's no way to really even test this without like a thing that costs more than the cable.
I like what Peggy's saying there. You're absolutely right. And the negatives appear to be getting more notice, sadly, but it does not mean you're wrong. Accept their view, but do not give up your true inner feelings. Look, I mean, I think there's a world of difference between you share a fence line and your neighbor has an eyesore there and you might have to go to the association to deal with that. I get that. There are some times where people legit can't live and let live. There's a tree branch falling on the yard. But for the most part, if it's not being done to you, it's cool, man. Yeah. Like, it's just completely cool. And peppermint frosties sound good to me, though. How can anyone tell anyone what to like? I don't know. I feel like that's what's really like marked. And like the last 3 years, I have really not enjoyed the internet, and that was marked it. And the negativity does go further. Like the negativity goes so far, like anymore, if you want to be on social media, I'm only on social media because I teach art. But if you wanted to be on social media anymore, you have to like commit to offending whole large demographics of people. And I try to have the opinions I have, but I try to come in not so hard as to like intentionally offend. I understand that there are ideas and concepts and things that I believe in. I'm a bit of a tree hugger that would upset people conceptually, right? But even in expressing those, I try to do it in a way that doesn't negate the reasonable opposing opinion. Like I'm always of the mind, like if it's consenting adults and nobody's broken a law, it's like cool, Now, I do tend to lose my mind at solicitors at the door, so there are places I'm still working on it with, right?
Yeah.
I'm still coming together. But that's what I don't love. And it does feel like online. Like the biggest post I had of recent was let me tell you what you want to, if you want to make the entire internet mad, post dog grooming posts. I had no idea what a deep and frothy and angry and salty and fiery, I avoid the big stuff, right? For the most part, but I was just like, huh. But it was just like people were so unwilling. They weren't really even arguing. Right now, the AI stuff like that with artists, we're not really even arguing, but people are so committed to being offended. Like they want to be offended. They want to be outraged. And it's all camps. Because I'm online. It is all camps. If you just want to be just offended by something deeply and profoundly and like not listen and definitely misunderstand. It's like they're looking to, instead of being like, hey, I hear you're saying this, but could you like, is this what you mean? Like ask a follow-up question, like, and I think we're smart enough to know the difference between someone coming to troll and somebody coming with a concern. Like I always break it down like this. A troll isn't looking for an answer, right? A troll is looking to create distraction and disruption and chaos. An angry person may come in with similar language, but they're actually looking for a solution or an answer. You know, I think about these things a lot on my canvas. Does Cinnamon use a Stay Wet palette? I do, Laura. I absolutely do use a Stay Wet palette. All right, we're going to put in some flowers and finish this thing up. And I think that that's where we've just gone off the rails as a society, is like, you know, we've just taken everything too far. I mean, oh my gosh, can we bring the word chill back? Can chill, dude, chill, dude, chill. Just chill, man. Not everything has got to be like,
Not everything.
like huge, man. Some things can just be like chill. All right, I'm going to grab my quinacridone magenta and my cad red together, and I'm going to make my favorite red, which is quin and cad red. I mean, it's like, okay. I'm just feeling like anymore like, oh, we're going to lose our mind over this. I'm just like, you know, I don't really care. Like, I don't really care what a chocolate company does with its packaging as long as the chocolate is still food. I don't know.
These are nice little flowers.
These are going to be little dots. This is how you do these flowers. Is you make a couple little dots. Sometimes I like to do 2 little dots together so I can kind of bring them out. You know, I like to put them a few places. There needs to be, you know, a few little dots here and there. These are little flowers. They're like bougainvillea, maybe, is what I would think of. You know. But I mean, like, I love it. Like, my mom says all kinds of things that are just like crazy, and I love it. I'm just like, what? I want to know more. I like want to know why. But I don't know, man. It's just, crazy anymore. I'm like, I might not know things globally until it gets on Phil DeFranco anymore. Because that's the only place I feel like it can go.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It just... And here's the crazy thing. Like, I'm in the grocery store, and a lot of eggs were like $9. Right? I get where that's a little bit frosty. There's enough money where I'm considering chickens now. Like, when I get to Ireland, I might have some chickens. At $9 a dozen, I might get some chickens. But I follow a lot of farmers and permaculture farmers and stuff on social media. I like to follow farmers. I don't know why. I'm a weird person, but I just do. I like to follow farmers and see what farmers are talking about today, because I feel like, you know, they go out and they touch grass and they live outside and they probably have some grounded ideas. And they were saying that they're not being paid any more money for chicken eggs anyways. So then I'm like in the grocery store just standing there just wondering, why are the like, who did this? Right? But then I got to go find that person. I'm just like, at this point, I'm just going to raise some chickens. That's what's going to happen. And I think that's what a lot of these like, I don't know, invisible faces are going to discover, is that, that people are just going to get sick of it all and just go raise chickens. We're going to just paint our own paintings and weave our own weaves and make our own stuff and all have permaculture farms and just have chickens and just not participate. In all of the just insanity. Like, I just can't. All right. Lynn, leave your feelings at the airport when you first get to Ireland. Some can sound testy, but they're just being them. Oh, I totally know what you're meaning. I'm practicing my banter,
Yep.
which is different than the telling my life story. I know that. I'm
Right.
not
So
gonna come in and tell my. Okay, so here's
don't
what
become
I'm
friends
prepared.
forever.
This is yeah. This is my plans for initial Ireland. I'm gonna tie nothing to trees. No fairy trees will be. I'm gonna tie nothing to trees. I'm gonna come in super respectful. I know banter is not doing what I do on my show. I don't banter on my show. I tell my life story. It's very American. I know. So, but I'm gonna be like ready for some light banter. And like if I have a good friend, it's like okay if they have at me, that's all right. I actually have a lot of friends from Europe because when mom and I travel and stuff, and I have a pretty good skin, and I talked with John about this, and here's what I think it is. The difference between passive aggressive grooming negative comments and like being with a community that has a sense of humor about themselves and each other is if it's in love. And that's my metric. If somebody is saying something to me and they're poking fun of me, and look, dude, I have purple hair. I always tell my oldest, don't have purple hair if you're not prepared for people to comment on your purple hair. Because it's going to happen, and it just, you got to be resilient enough to hear purple hair comments. And I think I'm like cool, like with like joking and having at me, and I have a pretty good skin, and then I know who I am. I think that stuff is easier to take sometimes than, all the other stuff going on in the world. I'd rather have somebody poke at me. And honestly, sometimes this stuff is true. But I've been watching shows on like how like Irish social customs. John and I have been watching all these shows on Irish social customs. So
It's true.
we don't American in.
We want to be gently entering and
Yeah.
respectfully.
Yeah. I would like someone to invite me over for tea and mean it. I also know to ask I have to ask twice just to make sure, like they mean it. I've been looking it up. My father-in-law stopped raising chickens because of the cost.
Huh, I can. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the cost. But at $9 a dozen, man. And I'm not saying all of the chicken eggs are that, just some of them. I just was sitting there looking at that though for a second. I was just like, if you saw me in the grocery store just staring, thinking hard, just going, man, the world has gotten weird. Okay, so over here, a little more magenta into the Cad Red mix. I'm going to roll it out. So it's no green leaves over here. It's just the flowers. I don't know, man. I do actually know. That's the problem. I'm like Bethany Frankel. I do actually know. But I know that knowing isn't it. People have to like come to anything because it's right for them. You cannot make people do stuff. Unless you're the homeowners association, and then you have ultimate power, apparently. Because I'll tell you what, my homeowners association when we lived in Austin absolutely made me keep that grass to like level, and I had all the native plants, and the trash cans were never the distance from the curb that they're not allowed to be, and no, they were super in charge of me. So I understand the homeowners association has enough power to control us all. Just pulling those here, just giving them lots and lots of. Isn't that lovely? Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, it is.
Look at us. We got it. We just have
Wow.
one last thing. It was just involved, guys. I have a lifetime invite to tea at her house, Lynn's house. Give me 30 minutes notice. Dude, it's on like Donkey Kong. Just take you up on it. Yeah, I just want to get back to just, just having a laugh and things being light and not crazy serious. I just, I'm not saying serious stuff in life doesn't happen. It super does. It's all the time. I'm going to take a little bit of white in my number one liner. And I'm going to add a little bit of a white, like, I don't know. It was like a white center.
You want to make that the last step?
Yeah, this is the last step. Oh, you didn't step it?
I didn't step it for that. There you go. There's a step for
Step 15, we're just going to add some little white centers to some of the flowers. It's totally fine. That's what we're doing. So, yeah, I just want to have a laugh and just be chill and... Now I'm turning it just to have an easier time with the angle because that protects my shoulder. So, and I'm also excited because, like, I'm going to travel a lot when we're over there when all the immigration stuff gets done. I'm definitely going to travel, take advantage of the EU, go everywhere, see everything. May drag you guys with me if I have any subscribers after today's show.
Oh my gosh, there's so many subscribers, and everybody really agrees with you. And I know this is one of those things. Everybody feels nervous about when they say things that can be controversial, but it's really
okay. But think of the world that we're in. My controversial saying is, "Let people alone. They'll do them. You do you. Everybody mind their own business." What wackadoo world are we in? That's controversy. The mind your own bees controversy. Just let people be happy. You can love who they love and live how they want to live and take the jobs they want to take. Just and be about the causes that they're about. That's okay. That's fine too, man. Just because I'm not, out there doing it doesn't mean I'm just like, oh, you can't. Like, yeah, you do you, man. Do you. Like, there's this, like, ocean rescue where they, like, save seals. Now, I'm not on the beach saving seals. But I dig what they do, so I support it. I dig what they do. So I'm going to support it, that's all. And I don't dig like what another thing does. I don't support it. Like, YouTuber boxing. I'm not into it.
No. It's just, wow, man.
Not my thing. But I don't go leave, like, I don't have an opinion, like, past that. Like, if I saw Jake Paul at a YouTube event, I wouldn't be like, that's dumb. I'd just be like, huh, you doing your thing. I met the lady that eats pickles for a living. Got millions of subscribers eating pickles. Like, I might have started all of the ASMR, I think. Do I want to be whispered at on my shows? No, not at all. But I'm not mad at people who do. I'm like, okay. My eldest has this thing where they call them stem boards, and it's like visual sensor things and noise, and they find it very relaxing, and I find it like having nails on chalkboard. But again, I don't gotta get it. I don't gotta get it. I just have to listen to like why it's important. All right, let's look at this and see if we're happy. Yeah, Lance. I think the Art Sherpa community is a live and let live community. You know, I think it's a live and let live community. All right, I'm going to come here and sign it. It was a very complicated. The next painting we're doing is super one hoot, guys. It's a floral. It's for beginners. It's one hoot. I won't be on long enough to talk about how I think people are crazy, but I do. I think they're crazy. Like, there's so much going on right now, like the earthquake and everything. Just like, we got a lot of people we need to take care of in the world. As far as I'm concerned, they all equally matter. As much as me, anyways. I think you matter as much as me. I do.
I do too.
Genuinely. I don't have to get everything that you're about. I think you matter as much as me. I can even really, really, really disagree, and I still think you matter as much as me. And I think that's important. We need to get back to that. Oh, man, guys, it's been weird. I had the sick week where I painted everything in reverse. Mm-hmm. That was a strange moment. And I get these panic attacks because I'm always afraid, like, you only get a second and a half to get a first impression. And I'm, like, afraid, like, all these people will show up on a YouTube suggestion and I'll be a complete goof, and then they'll, like, never, ever try me again. And I think I'm so awesome because I give away so much free art education.
You do. We are the
I feel
freest.
like I'm the most amazing.
The freest. And the
like,
mostest.
Most invested in my students, most like concerned that you guys like get to have it and have what you need to be successful artists. And I believe in you, like, seriously, like,
the believiest.
I'm the believiest. I believe in you guys. Seriously believe in your ability to do things and be strong enough and take your art and change the world with it, or at least change your own world. I mean, like, it's not even that we have to change the whole world, right? Art, like, we change our own world. That has ripple effects. We become happier, better, calmer people. It has ripple effects. And I have to say, like, you know, if you find that you are mad a lot, that is not a state of being you have to be in. You can actually get help for that.
Yeah. And
should, because happy's worth it. Happy is worth it. Happy is a choice. And I think art helps us be happy. And art helps everybody be happy. Right? Yeah. Like everybody be happy. Why didn't I paint edges in the sides of the frame? Says Deb. Well, because I don't. You can. There's nothing wrong with it. Generally, okay, so I came up where, to me, a gallery wrap canvas had a very thick stretcher and was designed to never be framed, right? And it was used in gallery hanging situations if you weren't going to do strip frame. But generally in something like this, I would do a strip frame so I don't paint the sides. Huh. A lot of painting party places created this trend where you paint the sides because people were bringing home art and they weren't necessarily going to frame it, and the painting the sides makes it look more finished if you're hanging it on the wall unframed. And I'm just kind of the mind that either is completely cool, as you know, like, it's, if you want to frame, and if you want to paint the sides and hang, both are equally cool, equally good. I don't generally do it in the show because it just adds, gosh, look, I talk a lot, right? If you gave me another 20 minutes on the show from just painting the sides, this thing would never end, would it? We'd be here forever. And so, you know, I think it's just a preference thing. And I got some don't changes, and Ramona says, I believe in us all. I do. I believe in us. I honestly think we're gonna get through. Sometimes I get panicked that as a species we're gonna take ourselves out, but then I see things that give me hope, and I go, we might get through this. Like we might figure it out. Like I still hold out this weird hope that in my lifetime, right? People are going to realize that my well-being and your well-being and everybody's well-being is super interconnected, that the well-being of the planet is connected to us, and that it's just a chill thing for all of us to be aware of that, and how we can, live the lives that we need to live, and feed our families the way we need to feed our families, and take care of ourselves the way we need to take care of ourselves, and everything else. Like, I don't know what that answer is, but I do believe that answer exists, right? And I think we're going to figure it out. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it in my lifetime. If the universe would like to give that to me, is seeing the human race figure out how to just be cool, honey bunny, be cool. just a little bit. The painting is amazing. It's so cool. If you're a patron, we'll have the giveaway, because I'm giving away the study to one of the patrons. So we'll have that posted up really soon. And Cindy, you do share so much compared to others. Free at that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I feel like I do. I know comparison is the thief of joy, and I believe Brandy Brown when she says that's true. I believe her. But I do look out there and I think I give away a lot for free, and I do that honestly, because I do get that when you start adding up materials and costs, and then finding the time and all the other things that are involved in doing a painting, and being a part of art and everything, that adding really exorbitant class fees to that can be overwhelming. That said, if you're still here, you might really, really like me. And I do want to mention that my mom and I are doing an art retreat
That's right.
this August. And you can find that information on the Art Sherpa store. The tickets are there, or in the retreat, it will tell you about it. And then you can go check out the cost of the ticket at the store. It's going to be our last US based event for a half second. So you may want to catch that if you're doing that. And if you don't know my mom is Ginger Cook from Ginger Cook Live, and she's a hoot. And the retreat basically goes, we eat every meal with you guys. We feed you like your hobbits. We're like first breakfast, second breakfast, snacky, snacky, snacky. And if you're not eating, you're painting. And we do it in the Poconos at this really weird resort. It's the oldest PGA golf tour resort in America.
Yeah.
It's a weird place. It has a weird vibe. I super love it. It's kind of like, it reminds me very much of the resort in Dirty Dancing, or in The Marvelous Miss Maisel. It's kind of got that vibe to it. It is one of those resorts, like it's just still open. And even though it's a golf resort, we go and we just paint in rooms, and you paint all day. You'll be so over painted. You'll have painted too much, and you'll come home with so much art. And I do watercolor and acrylic. My mom does acrylic, but she does tend to do a palette knife course in that. And we have a guest teacher come in and bring a cool project in, which is usually the Shawnee comes in and teaches you guys how to paint like a cool wood sign. And it's just art and food for days and days and days and days. And it's in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. And we pick you up from the airport and drop you off if you need that. So like, it's very inclusive. And there's some spots left, so you could still go. And I highly recommend, if you've been wanting to do a vacation or art retreat. And here's the other reason the Shawnee is cool. You can bring the family. We have like add-on tickets for the room and food, so that they can eat with you and be at the resort, but not have to paint with us. And that they've got kayaking and golfing and gaming and sports and all those things that you would think. Not true. You are painted just enough. So if you guys are thinking about that, check that out. If you're looking for like an art thing to do, that might be a good thing to do. And I don't know when we're going to do it again. So definitely check that out. And my mom's show is tomorrow in the evening at what time? 6:30, 5:30? I don't. My mom has a live show tomorrow.
Not sure.
somebody here knows and they can post it. So, but she does, and I don't know what she's painting, but it'll be something cool and chattier than this. Chattier than this end part.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Oh, the 2022 retreat was amazing, and I would recommend. Oh, thank you, Bug. It was so awesome having you there. That was a lot of fun. It was a really good retreat. And I think the next retreat after that retreat will probably be in Ireland.
Yeah.
I don't know when, though.
And then France.
En France, bonjour.
And
Bonjour,
then
ça va bien?
I kind of have a hankering to go north. And maybe we'll go to, like, I was thinking Scotland or Sweden or Norway or maybe
Scotland's attached
islands.
attached to England.
Way up there, but you keep going
It's
up.
not that north.
It's more north than you think. They have lots. It goes.
It's not that north.
It's up.
I want to go more north. I want to go where there's like glacial melts.
Well, then Iceland and Greenland.
Iceland, Greenland north, right? It's Svalbard.
Greenland is now green, and Iceland is, not as
But
icy.
how about Spain?
That's much warmer.
I know. I like that. Greece.
We're just now talking about random places on Earth we'll go to.
Some cool places that we could go to together, guys. Thank you so much.
Tahiti.
I will.
That's a warm place. Tahiti.
Watch for the shorts. Be sure if you see a short notification, you go by and love it so that YouTube pushes those out. And I'll see you Thursday, I think, for the next class. Okay, you ready to say goodbye to everybody, John?
I think so.
Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.